Good evening. I would like to call to order the March 7, 2023 Little Rock City Board of Directors meeting. We'd like to welcome those in attendance as well as those watching at home or streaming online. Madam Clerk, if you would, please call the roll.
Director Miller,
Here.
Director Richardson,
Here.
Director Peck,
Here.
Director Hines,
Present.
Director Lewis,
Here.
Director Wyrick,
Present.
Director Campiris, Director Phillips, Director Adcock,
Present.
Vice Mayor Webb,
Here.
Mayor Scott.
Here. We'll now ask and recognize Director Virgil Miller, who will give our invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. Please join me in a moment of silence as we individually and collectively prepare our hearts and minds for our meeting tonight. To those of you that work in the city manager's office, city attorney's office, community programs, our district courts, finance, fire, fleet, housing, HRIT, Parks and Rec, Planning and Development, Police, Public Works, Zoo, 911, MIMS, and the Mayor's Office, we thank you. To those of you that lead and participate in property owners associations and neighborhood associations, we thank you. To those of you that take your time to call or write to make us aware of an issue or a problem that needs to be addressed in our city, we thank you. To all that choose to live, work, and play in our great city, we thank you. May we as a board never forget that it is you that we're here to serve. May our meeting tonight reflect our spirit of service and gratitude, and let us be thankful for the opportunity to serve. May we accept the challenge to always give our best and always be kind and respectful to each other. Thank you, Mayor. Blessings to all.
Amen. May we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll first start with a proclamation for AmeriCorps Week. Whereas City Year was founded in 1988 on the premise that service is a hallmark of the American character and has the unique ability to bring people of all backgrounds together in a common cause. And whereas AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps senior volunteers of diverse ages and backgrounds help to meet local needs by responding to COVID-19, tutoring or mentoring children and youth, increasing food security, supporting veterans and military families, combating the opioid epidemic, restoring the environment, and responding to disasters. And whereas AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps senior programs bring people together across race, age, and zip code to address critical issues facing the country, forge relationships and cultivate mutual respect, and help build resilient and thriving communities. And whereas AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps seniors, volunteers demonstrate commitment, dedication, and patriotism by making an intensive commitment to service, a commitment that remains with them in their future endeavors. And whereas AmeriCorps Week is an opportunity to recognize the dedication and commitment of more than 1.2 million Americans who have chosen to serve their country through AmeriCorps and millions more who have served in AmeriCorps seniors and their community partners, and to encourage more Americans to follow their footsteps in service. Now, therefore, I, Frank Scott Jr., Mayor of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, do hereby designate March 12th through 18th, 2023 as AmeriCorps Week. Let's give them a round of applause. We'll ask some of the AmeriCorps members if they want to approach the podium and share anything.
My name is Belinda Sanders, and I'm a program director with an AmeriCorps program here in the city of Little Rock, along with 4 other programs that are in the city of Little Rock. And we'd like to just let you know that we are here. We're all over Arkansas and all over the U.S. And we encourage you to come and check our programs out, and also tell people about us. We know about you. So tell people about us. But thank you, Mayor Scott, for recognizing us. We also have a certificate for you to make you an honorary AmeriCorps member.
Oh, okay.
So, and we also have a T-shirt for you.
Oh,
So
well, I'll
I'd
come,
like to-
we'll exchange. I'll
Okay.
bring you your proclamation
Okay.
on behalf of the city of Little Rock, but also members of the city board. We just again want to share our appreciation for what they do for City Year. But AmeriCorps members are part of a number of different organizations that we all support, from Jericho Way. Vice Mayor Kathy Webb is a supporter through the Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance, and so many other organizations that are participants with AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps seniors. And so we just want to let you know how much we appreciate. But
Okay.
I'll make sure I give you this.
All right, then. Thank you, because we'd like to take a photo with you, if that's okay.
Sure.
And Mayor, if the shirt is too small, feel free to drop it off here. I'll accept it on your behalf.
We'll see if you can fit it.
All right.
I don't know if it's okay to speak right now, but my name is Binky Martin Tollett. I'm the program director, the AmeriCorps program director at Pfeiffer Kiwanis Camp, and I wanted to recognize our 3 members who are here today. If they would stand up, and you guys come take a picture too. James Rose, Michael Freeman, and Ayanna Dobson. We work at Baseline Elementary and Lawson Elementary in Pulaski County, and we also work at Pfeiffer Camp, so they are counselors out there. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
We don't want to give it to Director Richardson.
A little closer. We like each other. Yeah, I don't want the podium in the way. Closer. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Hey, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Everybody look at me. Got it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We're going to call this situational awareness. I happen to see a number of esteemed women who are part of the elegant organization of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, who are members of the Divine Nine, and I understand they're here as part of their civic engagement and involvement. And oh, by the way, City Director Andrea Lewis is also a member of Delta Sigma Theta. City Director Lewis?
Mayor, thank you all. Welcome, sorors.
Oh, y'all not gonna do, well, all right, it's all right. We'll do it after the meeting, I got it. Yeah. No, but again, thank you all for being here tonight. We do appreciate each of you and what you do for the city of Little Rock.
Thank you.
All right, we're now gonna transition to what Black History Month means to me, a student video presentation.
Good evening. Mayor, City Board, Assistant City Manager, it is my pleasure to join you this evening to present the work of Artlonda Mallett and Bria Ellington, students at Little Rock West High School of Innovation. Artlonda and her family are in the room with us this evening. During the month of February, the city collaborated with the Little Rock School District to celebrate Black History Month in a meaningful way. Throughout the month, we shared content from student creators on our social media channels. The post featured Reverend Elias Camp Morris and Centennial Baptist Church, President Barack Obama, and among others, Deborah Myers Mathis, the first Black and female editor of Tiger News at Little Rock Central High. As part of this project, we invited students to participate in a video contest. Tonight, we will view Bria's video submission, awarded second place, and Artlanda's video, awarded first place. The theme is What Black History Month Means to Me. Please roll.
Black History Month is a chance for us to learn not only about past leaders, but to learn about leaders that are achieving amazing things in today's time. Black History Month to me is a special time for us to focus on African Americans that I hope change the way we live today by their actions in the past. And a time for younger generations to learn about the people before them and the people that are currently living on the earth. It's also an occasion to appreciate the struggle of the past generations for freedom, an historical period for us to learn about what they did for us to make the world a better place for African Americans. This is why Black History Month is special to me.
And I will be sharing what Black History Month. Hi, I'm Arlonda Mallet, and I will be sharing what Black History Month means to me. As a young Black female in America, it means a lot. In schools, we always learn about 3 people: Martin Luther King, Ruby Bridges, and Rosa Parks, when there is so much more than that. Black History Month is a time for us to come together as a community and dig deeper into our roots and past. Doing that brings us to a better future overall, knowing where we come from. It's a time for us to encourage and lift each other up as one. It's a time that we really connect and see who we are. And I love it. So that's what Black History Month means to me.
On behalf of the Little Rock School District and the City of Little Rock, please join me in congratulating students Artlanda Mallet and Bria Ellington.
Congratulations. Thank you so much, and really did enjoy that presentation. All right, we have, I believe, 5 modifications for tonight's agenda. Item M1 is a resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a construction services contract with Hydeco Incorporated for the renovation of the Board of Directors chambers at Little Rock City Hall. Item 2 is a resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Dana Safety Supply for upfitting of 107 vehicles for the Little Rock Police Department. M3, to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Utility Associates Incorporated for the purchase of 107 rocket modems and accessories for the Little Rock Police Department. Item 18 is being deferred until March 21st, 2023 at the applicant's request. Item 19 is being deferred until March 21st, 2023 at the applicant's request. We also will be deferring item number 22 for a month. So the first regularly scheduled board meeting in the month of April. And then also Director Hines.
Yes, Mayor and fellow board members, if you guys will do me the honor of a little leniency, I'd like to defer 17 on CAW. I'm still in talks with their CEO on the rate increase. He and I have had some scheduling issues this last weekend, actually probably for the last week and then the next 2 weeks. So he's had some work he's been doing up at the legislature, and I'm going to be out of town next week and then out of the country the week after. So I will ask to defer this till the first meeting in April. We've got till the middle of April to take this up. So I think we can reach a resolution once I return and his schedule is cleared to kind of finish hashing out. We've made some progress and just need a little more time.
All right. Do we have a motion for all those additions and change and
So,
deferrals?
so move.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay.
Mayor, I have a question on item 1, please.
And we'll get to that. Just want to make sure we take the vote.
Mayor, can I interject something? I know there's some people that were coming for item 22, and that is the short-term rentals, and if they're in the room, then we're not going to take that up tonight. I know there were some people making a special trip down here just for that, so I wanted to interject that before we got too far.
Yes, and one of the, yes, that the reason, there's a lot going on before the legislature as it relates to item 22. And so before the city makes a move, we want to see what will be any foundational effects going forward. And so we do recognize the many residents who've been involved and engaged in the short-term rental process. Would encourage you to visit what's going on at the legislature, just so you're aware of how it's impacting this particular item. And so that's the reason why we're deferring at this time, and we can get you that information later tomorrow if it's needed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read, sorry, Director Adcock, you had a question on item 1 before we go to the consent?
Yes. I had received a phone call about this. Ms. Cox, was this done with a bid that had an RFP or RFQ on it? And is this the lowest bid?
Yes, ma'am, it was competitively bid, and this was the lowest bid.
Okay, and we have to take the lowest bid, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read the consent agenda along with the additional items.
A resolution to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents to purchase the former Shepherd's Building located at 603 West Markham Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, in the amount of $950,000 and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with SHI Inc. in an amount not to exceed $88,708.34 plus applicable taxes and fees based upon the current number of departmental license for VMware vSphere license and 3-year support for city's new data center servers and for other purposes, a portion of funding from the 3/8 capital improvement sales tax. A resolution to transfer the title of the properties located at 3517 West 11th Street and 1812 Pinewood Drive from the city of Little Rock, Arkansas to Habitat for Humanity of Central Arkansas, Inc., to be used for neighborhood revitalization programs and for other purposes. A resolution to accept the title to the property located at 2815 South Pulaski Street to the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, to be used for neighborhood revitalization programs and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a Employee Assistance Program Service Agreement with Southwest Employee Assistance Programs, Inc., in an annual amount not to exceed $100,000 for the provision of an employment assistance program and work-life services to the city of Little Rock and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Motorola Solutions, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $1,194,647.50 plus applicable taxes and fees for the purchase of 169 mobile radio systems for the Little Rock Police Department, utilizing the Arkansas State Contract Purchase Agreement and for other purposes. A resolution to amend Resolution Number 14,908 to authorize the city manager to enter into agreement with Forvis LLP, formerly BKD LLP, to provide certified public accounting services to the city of Little Rock, Arkansas for the period ended 2018 to 2022 and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute a Fourth Amendment to the lease agreement between the city of Little Rock, Arkansas and the Oakland and Fraternal Historic Cemetery Park Board as lessors and the Little Rock School District as lessee to extend the lease for one additional term of 1 year effective January 1, 2023, and to approve basic annual rent for the year 2023 in the amount of $13,800 and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Motorola Solutions, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $770,856.96 plus applicable taxes and fees for the purchase of 107 in-car radios for the Little Rock Police Department and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Motorola Solutions, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $700,170 plus applicable taxes and fees for the purchase of 107 WatchGuard cameras and accessories for the Little Rock Police Department and for other purposes. A resolution to approve the issuance of the exterior permit for solar panels at 2218 South Schiller Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, during the temporary moratorium of the issuance of demolition permits and exterior building permits in the Central High School Neighborhood Historic District and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with Hydco, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $322,622 to renovate the Board of Directors chambers at Little Rock City Hall and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Dana Safety Supply, Inc. for upfitting 107 vehicles for the Little Rock Police Department in an amount not to exceed $1,505,531.75 plus applicable taxes and fees and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Utility Associates, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $220,108 plus applicable taxes and fees for the purchase of 107 rocket modems and accessories for the Little Rock Police Department and for other purposes. That concludes the consent agenda.
Move for the adoption of the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read the group items.
We have
Citizen-
Citizen communications, I apologize. All right, we'll have Mr. Johnny Hassan.
Peace and blessing be upon you. Assalamu alaikum some, Hotep to others, the process and Tigo for some. What I just wrote for the agenda item was to declare the city of Little Rock to declare a public health emergency. I appeared here last year requesting the same request that the mayor declare a public health emergency for the city of Little Rock based upon the violent crime statistics and so forth. And I also prayed for those persons that were, at that time, was 64 homicides, and we ended the year with 81. And some people are celebrating today, talking about, oh, we're just at 7. So I would just like to pray for that first 7 that has died in the city of Little Rock, those human beings. With the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Please forgive us for our lack of concern for those who have died by homicide, and forgive us for lack of concern for the humanity of others who are in the line of fire of these guns that we have in this city. Also forgive us for our unwillingness to speak to this issue and speak the truth about it. Amen. On the documents that I have with me is a report that comes from the Jim Brooks. The mayor indicated that y'all had declared last night before last, that y'all had a public health emergency. Have you done it or have you not done it? That's the question. My question also in relationship to his documentation that we had 13% decrease in aggravated assaults or violent crime. Yes, that is correct, Mayor, but you did not acknowledge that there was a 25% increase in African-American homicides on that same citywide report. And on that same citywide report, which I have reading from, is there are a 57% increase in homicides in the last 5 years. That's on your watch. And also the issues related to all of the homicides. If you notice, you can check these documents, they're available for Jim Brooks, that the homicide rates are higher than the aggravated assaults. Why is that? Because people are not arguing, fighting, and stabbing each other. They are killing each other. And so I thank you for your time, because if you're not willing to hear about this, to declare this city, do we have a public health emergency? African Americans are dying, not Caucasian people. That's the statistics. So my mayor, if you don't do something about it, it's a shame on you as a minister of the Lord, as you proclaim.
Thank you so much. Kendall Foreman.
Dear Heavenly Father, may your glory reign on earth as it is in heaven. Mayor Scott, I'm a resident of Big Country Chateau. I'm still present. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
I'm still a resident at the Big Country Chateau, and I am not satisfied with the help at all that's come from the city or from any elected official in the situation. I believe we have a mediator now, a third-party owner. I don't know. They haven't made themselves. They've been there for a week, and I still haven't met them. I got put in a motel for a hotel for 3 days that was paid by the city and the city taxpayers, and just to return back to the same situation and scenario. I thought you declared this as a state of emergency. I can't tell. As a matter of fact, in the agenda right here, a resolution was authorized for the mayor to buy a property at 603 West Markham Street for the amount of $950,000. But still, I'm a resident in an unlivable apartment complex that pays city taxes. Sir, I'm asking and pleading tonight for some help from the city or from the community. Because you're not the only one I feel has put us on the back burner, sir. And I had a question about the parks. I see a bunch of money being funded for these parks. I see a lot of parks in the city of Little Rock. And I see a lot of murders where I live too. Sir, thank you for speaking on that. I'm from the country, from Texas. Never, ever have I been exposed to something like this. Too many innocent lives lost where I live, sir. In my backyard. I want you to sleep on that tonight, sir. I want you to ask yourself tonight your definition of a state of emergency. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Jerome Jackson, Jr.
How you doing? This is my first time here. I don't know the normal procedure, but I'm speaking for myself and my neighbors. I live in Westbridge Apartments. I've been there 14 years. Right now, anybody 65 and over, they're putting out. They're putting this out for the simple fact they're saying there is no Section 8, there is no low income, but what are we? Just think, these young mamas, your aunties, people you know, you're putting this out, but you're steady moving in Big Country, and they're Section 8. They're low income. So what's the difference between theirs and mine? I've been arguing with the same thing for over 3.5 years. Plumbing, ceiling and fell in, my bathroom overfloods. I have pictures to show. I can't show to nobody because they're not doing anything. I'm pleading for help. If this is how y'all treat y'all's veterans here in Arkansas, It's pitiful. Please do something about this housing and out-of-state renting. Nobody know who the managers are. Nobody know who owns the place. But they're putting this out, but no one godly reason. That's what I have to say.
Thank you so much. Ms. Norma Huffman.
How y'all doing this evening? I'm a resident of Big Country Chateau. I am a disabled mother of a 17-year-old son. I have been there for 3 years. Nothing has been done. Yes, there's new people that are trying to get the place cleaned up. But there's nothing that can be done to help us, apparently. You guys need to help us. I've been trying to get into a new apartment for 2 months now. Housing is not doing their inspection. Me and my son are stuck at this complex. I've got to get out of there. I am very, very sick. I have multiple sclerosis that affects my nerves, so I'm constantly in pain. I'm a type 2 diabetic. I have heart problems. I now have respiratory problems because of the mold. I need you guys to help us. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You guys need to help us. Housing needs to get the inspection done so I can start getting better. I'm only 39 years old, and I feel like I'm 85. Please, help me get out of this apartment so my son doesn't find me dead one day.
Thank you so much for sharing. Mr. Nicholas Black.
How's it going, everybody? My name's Nicholas Black, and I was a resident at Big Country Chateau for about a year. I don't really know what to say, but I know I'm here today to raise awareness on just what's been going on in Big Country. For about a year, we witnessed murders upon murders upon murders. My 4-year-old son witnessed someone shot in the stomach feet away from us. I hear this mom up here crying, and I came here not knowing why I came here, but I realize now it breaks my heart for these parents out there, man. I've recently moved out. I made it to Jacksonville, but it took churches and knowing people, and I just happened to know the right people. That's what it was. People put me in another spot. Some of these parents don't got that. And these kids, these mamas, these dads out here, they're having to see people die. The mold that she just spoke about, I had my son, who's sitting over there right now, my youngest, he's 9 months old now, but when he was about 2 or 3 months, we went to the doctor, and he was diagnosed with a mold allergy, and it's from these apartments. This mold in these vents, you'll feel it in your body. You feel it. Now that I'm out of there, I feel better. Like those apartments, there's something in the vents. And it's the mold, the roaches. I have never seen this many roaches. And when I reported it multiple times, they came and sprayed what smelled like cat urine, but it did nothing. It actually made more come. So I don't know where, you know what I mean? And the people that they were sending, it was a different person every time who claimed to be from wherever they were. And so they were just hiring these people off the street to spray their apartments with stuff. So what I'm saying is these people need help. They do need help. I'm here to speak on their behalf because there's kids suffering and there's parents suffering. It's not just dope dealers and murderers there. There's families that are really suffering. And I'm just here to tell y'all that it's real. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Black. Miss Amy Black.
Hello. Sorry, I'm super nervous. Okay. Speaking in front of a lot of people. I'm here also. My husband was the one who just spoke. We lived at Big Country for about a year, And the things that we went through there, I'm trying not to cry. It's unimaginable. And I was fortunate enough that God blessed us with a way to get out. Like, people came and helped us. And I'm here tonight for the people who don't have, that saving grace to get out of there. I've been keeping up with the news and with the court dates and stuff, and it had been declared a state of emergency. So I was thinking that, it's an emergency, that people are going to come in and help, to help these people. But I don't think things really happened yet. You know what I mean? And I don't understand like how bad it's going to have to get before people come in and help these people. Like, the situation is so desperate and so dire. Like, it's unimaginable. When I was calling to try to find a new place, the apartment complexes I was calling told me, you're going to have to find a different address. No one is going to rent to you if you're coming from there. Like, they wouldn't even they didn't even want us to fill out an application if we had that 6200 Colonel Glenn address, like coming from there. They would not accept us. They were afraid we were going to bring roaches, and they were afraid that we were going to be a certain kind of person, like we were going to be trouble. You know what I mean? And it's so scary. Like, I cannot imagine. Like, I still have nightmares just because of all the things we experienced, from the roaches to like the guys who came in to spray for roaches. They just unlocked my door and walked in. I had no shirt on, and I told them to get out, or I was calling the police. They just came on in my house and started opening cabinets. And then I went to the environmental court, and I watched them say things had been fixed when they absolutely had not been fixed. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm so worried for the people that are still there. Like, the situation is so incredibly desperate, and the management, they prey on the desperation of these mothers and these people who have nowhere else to go. And I just really hope you guys can do something for them, because, it's a state of emergency. So it's emergent. Something needs to happen. I'm even willing to volunteer, whatever I can do to help it happen. That's really all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Ms. Black. Philip Harris. Mr. Philip Harris.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I know y'all probably remember me from the last time I was here. I used to be a resident at Big Country Chateau. Now I moved out. I'm in a better place. To me, it's a better place. No mold, no mildew, but my wife is still feeling the effects from the mold. But my suggestion is, the people at Big Country Chateau, they really need help. Now, they need help with counselors come out and talk to them, try to help someone come out, to help them find places to go, better apartments. They even come up with moving companies. I used to work in a moving company. They come up with a moving company that can help the elderly people that is out there. They set up some type of fund where they can just pay the moving company. The city can pay the moving company a certain amount of money to move all the residents out that's willing to move out, that's able to move out. They can have the moving company guys come in and pack up their things and move them at a set price. They can help them within their budgets, help them find, livable apartments. My apartment is not the best. I live at Westbridge right now, but it's better than what I was living in. I'm feeling better. I didn't want to shave when I was at Big Country. I didn't shave. I'm doing my schoolwork now. I'm looking better. I feel better about myself. My wife is still ill from the mold, but I feel that if the city would come up with some type of program where they can send counselors out, moving companies out, I can even sit down and talk to a couple of people to show them how to get the moving company, set them at a set price. Because I used to be a mover for 33 years. So if anybody willing to want to talk to me about it, I'm free. I give you my phone number, we can talk about it. I can set up the prices on the boxes or whatever. But I'm willing to help, because if it wasn't for the Arkansas Renters Association, I wouldn't be here today. I feel like I probably got sick from the mold and ended up passing away. That's what I feel about it. I just feel like the city needs to do a little bit more in helping the people at Big Country Chateau. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the board, I want to take this privilege just to share with you, again, as you know, as we have this state of emergency, it really has a lot to do with funding. We do have funding that we've administered to, I believe, about 40 families at Big Country Chateau, where we transition them to hotels and work with them to try to figure out permanent placing. I think all members of the board understand that Section 8 housing is not within the authority of the city of Little Rock. It's within the authority of Metro Housing Alliance. I know our housing department is working with MHA to figure out how to get more individuals into Section 8 homes within that nature, but that's a separate protocol. Unfortunately, time is not a friend in a situation like this, but I do want to ask our city attorney to give an update on the legal avenues that he's pursuing to help protect the current residents of Big Country Chateau. But before he gives that update, I do want to share, particularly to the residents who showed up here today, as well as those who may still be at Big Country, your city does see you. We feel you, we hear you. We are making funds available to get you to hotels and other permanent placing. We understand that takes time, and time is not a friend. That's not lost on us, and we're looking to figure out other ways. I want to thank Mr. Harris for his innovative idea. And so I want you to know how much we appreciate that. We know time is not a friend. That's why our city attorney is working some legal avenues while we continue to operate and get individuals into hotels until we can find permanent housing with our Metro Housing Alliance, which is a separate entity from the city of Little Rock. It's more of a state local entity, but we're working with them as more vouchers become available. But again, we know to someone who may who's not choosing to take the hotel, who may still be around that. We know time is not a friend to anyone, and we're urgently working on other opportunities in addition to the hotel payments that we're making because we want to get as many people out of there as possible. Our city attorney.
Mayor, the most recent on this is that we asked the court to actually enter verdicts and impose fines on Big Country. They did. We asked for $31,000 in fines, and that amount was ordered. The order can be appealed for up to 30 days. At the end of the 30 days, if it's not been appealed, we're already prepared to take the whole situation into circuit court and to try to do more things there. But by the rules of procedure, we're caught on that 30-day wait period.
And city attorney, and this is just one question, is there a way that we could structurally condemn Big Country and stop it from operating? I know it's still, we would probably have to go to court after that, but is there any way, understanding the emergency that it is, and we know the legal battles that you are working very hard to do, is there a way we could just structurally condemn it?
The answer to that question, I know that we had a fairly complete examination of the various apartments just a few weeks ago. I don't think that we had an investigation on the mode, and the reason for that is that the city is not capable of doing that itself and has to contract out. Imagine if we did that, we'd find out that the situation is just as bad as you've heard tonight. And in that case, we probably could take action to shut it down. The action exposes us to liability, but that doesn't mean it's not the thing to do. But without the evidence, we're not going to be able to do it.
Sure. Well, we'll work with Director Howard to figure out how we can contract mold and utilize that to condemn Big Country if possible. Director Phillips, then Director Richardson.
Thank you, Mayor.
And then Director Wyrick.
I want to echo your sentiments to the residents of Big Country Chateau and our efforts to help them in the situation. I was going to ask for an update from the city attorney as well and ask a follow-up question to him and to you, Mayor. Tom, what I'm hearing from the residents is the issues are not being resolved, and I understand we got to go through the process and we ask for the fines to be placed, but what's the status on the actual repairs being made to the apartment complex?
I don't know the answer to that right now.
Was that part of our request?
We cited them for the violation of the various codes, and I understand that work is being done on those. I just was not expecting that question tonight, and I don't have an answer for you. And I don't want to say something that's not true. I do know that we haven't done the mode inspections, and that's why I mentioned that a minute ago, I think that's a critical thing we do need to do.
But am I understanding it correctly that when there is a code violation, there's a financial penalty, but also the violation has to be remedied too, right? Is that correct?
It is supposed to be, yes.
And I know you can't give me specifics on the status of each remedy, but are remedies being made? Do you know?
Director Phillips, I really can't answer that tonight. I mean, that's the type of thing, if I'd had a couple hours, I could put something together for you, but.
Yeah, no, I wasn't, and I'm sorry for putting you, I mean, I didn't know what people were going to say when they got here tonight either.
Can say if it wasn't for people like Mr. Phillips and the videos that he provided, I don't think we would have gotten the fine, and it's the first time we've gotten a fine like this from that court.
Okay, understood. Secondly, Mayor, I think it was Mr. Phillips who mentioned maybe someone working with these individuals to help them find different housing opportunities. Is that something we can do or are doing?
Yes, Director Howard's doing that with a number of families right now, and that's a process. What generally happens is we're getting individuals into hotels, then getting them connected to the Metropolitan Housing Alliance, and then that takes time. Short of just having additional money, we have money to put people in hotels. We do not have money at this time to do permanent housing. The permanent housing function is from the Metropolitan Housing Alliance, and that's where they receive their federal dollars. What we're serving as is a emergency stopgap until we can get them permanent housing from that standpoint. But the idea that Mr. Phillips just shared, that's a great idea, and housing can help with that, just like housing is working with individuals to get to the hotel and to get to MHA. But what we heard with Mr. Phillips is a great idea, and we can work to get people moved out, but we have to move them somewhere else permanent, and that's the missing link right now.
Okay, understood. I just wanted to make sure that they were aware that that's something we are kind of doing and can do. I just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. But again, I want to reiterate that we here and are working feverishly to get some things done within the confines of what we can do with the money. But we also understand what's going on, and it's top of mind for us. Director, and we know that our city attorney is working hard to get this done on the legal end. Director Wyrick.
You forgot about me.
Director Richardson, then Director Wyrick. I apologize. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I too want to share the sentiments expressed by you and Director Phillips. And as a liaison to the Housing Alliance, I will tell you that there's a waiting list for vouchers. and I too want to recognize the fact that, Tom, my question to you is, why is this not in circuit court? Is this still in environmental court? And should this be in circuit court? Is it where we can increase the sanctions and increase the penalties or increase the message or use the bully pulpit of circuit court rather than environmental court?
Director Richardson, the short answer to that is this board over 20 years ago created a third division of its municipal court to deal with housing code violations throughout the city, including rental units and including residential non-rental units. So that gets us into court quicker. I mean, if we issue a citation, we can hopefully get there for plea and arraignment within a relatively short period of time and get some sort of at least decision made. My office has suggested following, and I think it's Belmont, Washington. It's one of the little cities that's right around Seattle, where their code enforcement officers show up one day. If there's a problem, they tell them. They come back the next day. If it's not fixed, they cite them. They're in court the next day for plea and arraignment, and they're in court for trial the day after that. Of course, you got weekends that move that a little bit. And they move very quickly. And there's a program in Carmel Heights, or maybe it's just Carmel, Indiana, which is right outside of Indianapolis. And they have that type of quick action in going through that. We can do that. We probably should do that. But doing that without having funding to help correct things isn't going to help. We've got statutory authority to go in and make repairs and then put a lien on property to be able to enforce the lien, but the lien that we put on it when we make the repairs to the standard of at least compliance with codes helps in terms of the immediate situation, but in the long term, if there are outstanding liens for failure to pay taxes and a variety of other things or loans, we end up not collecting. And you know, the policy issue y'all are going to have to decide is, do we go into these apartments, make the changes, hope we can get something, but if we can't, just be glad that it's a fixed housing situation. And that's a much longer discussion than tonight. But it's the only way you're effectively going to be able to do this. And then you've got a real big problem in deciding, well, where do we go? You've got Big Country here tonight. We've got other apartment complexes that have been problems. We've got apartment complexes in other parts of the city that I'm hearing about. I don't know that we can do them all at once. And oh, by the way, we've got a lot of people, particularly elderly people. The population of the city of Little Rock, at least at one point, was majority elderly, and they can't afford to fix their houses. So we could go in and fix the house and do the lien and perhaps get title to it at some point in the future. But I don't think we've got the money to go out and just fix it.
Tom, that was a perfect segue to my next question, or my next point is, this is not an aberration, and my heart breaks and goes out to folks, because I think Mr. and Mrs. Black said it clearly. We said it time and time again. The only people they're there because they have no other choices. And this is not an aberration. We have apartment complexes throughout the city that may not be as bad as this, but without any attention or any proactive action, eventually will devolve into this kind of living conditions. And I think it's something we need to be aware of. Our late, great colleague, Director Hendricks, used to always say it, and I'm gonna say it nicer than her, we would tolerate these kinds of conditions in certain places and to certain people, and if it got outside of that box, then we would have selective outrage, selective concern, and I just think my heart just breaks and goes out to these folks. But this is not an aberration. As you said, we have a number of apartment complexes throughout our city that are similarly situated that without any proactive action in time will devolve to the conditions that we've heard about tonight. And I just think we need to be mindful of that as we talk, Mayor, and fellow colleagues, about public safety. This is a public safety issue. It's a health issue, and it's incumbent upon us to communicate our concern and our desire to make sure everybody's big on Little Rock. Little Rock is a great place for everyone, and unfortunately, not everyone feels that way. And I know Joan and BJ can attest to the fact that we have a number of these similar situated complexes out in Southwest Little Rock. They're not as bad right now, but they're on their way. They're dealing with mold issues. I see our ACO folks here that have been helping us address some of those, and there are a number of them, Mayor, and that we probably need to spend some time paying attention to. And Tom, I can tell you that the voucher is a waiting list for the voucher program from the Housing Alliance. And I think we need to figure out a way to use the creativity and the knowledge and the depth of experience of you guys who've been on this board much longer than me. As BJ reminded me of at one ceremony, Mayor, I think you were there, that I was a baby when they started working on that. But we have a number of people who've been here for a number of years and have heard this for a number of years. And what we're hearing tonight is no action, no proactive policies and/or sanctions in place to help us help them. And I don't know, Tom, if the circuit court is the route or keeping the environmental court. I don't know if increasing the sanctions. I'm not a lawyer, but I do know we need to find it in our heart to do whatever we can to help these people here. They're our citizens, they're our constituents. I want them to be big on Little Rock, and I want them to know and understand that we're concerned about them regardless of the zip code, Mayor, and regardless of what part of the city that they live in. I mean, that that you gave last night, the State of City address about the income differences on 12th Street, between 12th Street and Kavanaugh, I'm still thinking about that. That's amazing. So we have two cities within one city. And I think we got to figure out a way to get outside the little box we put ourselves into to make sure we're looking out for all of our citizens. And all of our citizens understand that we're concerned about them. And I know funding is an issue, but I think, once again, we need to use the creativity of all these bright people sitting at this table with me to figure out a way to address this, Mayor. That's all I have to say on that, and I want to thank you.
Director Richardson, if I can, I need to make very clear that Kevin Howard and his staff and the people in code enforcement and their staff, and Chuck Givens and his staff, and Jamie Collins and their staff have been extremely responsive and tried to help us. And Chief Hubbard and the Fire Marshal's office has been very, very responsive and tried to help. It's not that we don't care. It's just there are not enough hours in the day.
I'm not denying that, Tom. I'm denying that we heard about this a year ago, 2 years ago.
25 years ago.
Well, that's my point. That's the point. You just proved my point. That when we act on it and when we react on something, in some cases, it's the next day. In some cases, it's 25 years later. So you made my point. Thank you for that clarification.
Director Wyrick.
Thank you, Mayor. For the people that came to speak about this issue tonight, you're coming in citizens communications, and if you expected interaction from the board to you all, that's really not the process. And I thank the mayor for bringing this up so we can have a discussion about it, because typically we're not allowed to do that. That's not part of our policy. What I'd like to know is, so we have about 40 people in hotels, and we're trying to find places for them to go. Do we just keep them for a few days and then turn them back to Big Country Chateau, or do we keep them until they do find a place to go? And after that, my next question is, how many people do we have left that are still living there? I don't know if anybody knows the answers today, but I think this is something that we need to know. I have been an advocate for mold testing for a number of years. And when we first started talking about this apartment complex, that was one of the first things that I brought up. And I was assured that we would have somebody that would go in and test that. I did a lot of research on this a number of years ago. There's CDC guidelines about variations of mold, and some of the mold, it's a deal breaker. If you have black mold, you have to shut the premises down. Now, if that's the case, then it appears to me that the health department and potentially the federal government might get involved in a situation like that. And with us not testing and knowing what we're dealing with the mold, then I think that's a critical first step that we should have done. Years ago, individuals would identify mold in their apartments or in their homes, and we would turn them away and say, well, we can't test it, so we don't know if that's what it is. But in the last few years, we've actually hired somebody to test. So I'm a little frustrated that we didn't do that in the very beginning as we were going through doing our investigation, because that's a deal breaker. When you have black mold, there are CDC guidelines that you have to follow. Bells and whistles go off. And so I don't know what our plans are for that testing, but we need to do that post-haste. But we all understand the situation that you're in. We're just trying to figure out how to help. So thank you all for bringing this back to us again today so we can continue the work that we're doing.
Thank you, Director Wire. Director Adcock.
Yes. Mayor, we have money under targeted community, and we have 4 wards in targeted community. Most of these apartment complexes are in those areas. Yes, Director Richardson, you have 2 that are just on the verge of being big countries. And we know who they are. We know where they are. We have committees meeting to find out how to spend money. These people have told us how to spend money, what needs to be done. I think that we need to look at the money that we have and what are our priorities with that money. And I know that these people are suffering every day. Every day when I drive by that, I think about the people that are in those apartments. And I think it's time that we look at the money that we have and decide what the priorities are for that money. Thank you.
Director Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor. Two things real quickly. I want to echo Director Wyrick said to those who came out. I know it takes courage to get up here publicly and to explain, the conditions that you're living in. So thank you for the courage of sharing that with us. And then secondly, Mayor, from a procedural standpoint, I'm not sure I really understand totally MHA's involvement and how they could be helpful. So I would request you, our city manager, or Director Cox, schedule someone from MHA to come to one of our meetings, because I want to understand how we're supposed to be working with them better. Maybe Director Richardson gets it because he's the liaison. I'm not. I want to better understand how they work together so we can be better helpful to these people. So if we can get them scheduled to come in for a work session to make sure we understand their role and how we can work together to solve these issues and prevent future issues like Director Richardson was mentioning.
Director Campiris. Then after Director Campiris, we'll have a brief comment from Director Howard, and then we'll get back with the agenda. But Director Howard's housing neighborhood, let him give an update. Director Campiris.
Well, and Kevin may answer the questions, but it seems to me that if we're in this situation, and we've known we've been in this situation, as Ken said, for a long time, then it would seem that we need to have a report from our group on about what we're doing and not doing and what they need to adequately vet these places and work towards remediation immediately rather than a year or 25 years too late. And Antoine said it right. It's, you go to court for one reason, but there's an inspector there that knows a problem today, and someone needs to be addressing it tomorrow. And what do we need to get Kevin the help to start doing that?
Director Howard, if you'll give an update, particularly on what we're doing in regards to providing funding for those families, and then also working to connect those families to Metro Housing Alliance, and maybe address some of the questions in regards to mold. I think you may even have an update there too.
Yeah, as far as the update, so initially with Big Country Chateau, we noticed all the tenants during that time period. I believe it was beginning of February, and gave them up to February the 15th to contact my staff. We put our phone number on there. We put email address where they can contact us. We did receive several calls from several tenants to get assistance. And I know some of the tenants in here today that I spoke to when we were in court, some of them did not want to move due to the fact that they were afraid that their apartments would be broken into. I know the gentleman back there, I spoke to him several times. And a lot of them just, they did not want to move at that point. But the ones that we did move, we put them in hotels, provided hotel vouchers for them, and several of them provided information so we can get them permanent housing. Some of the other issues that I know that some of the tenants discussed with me is they wanted to know what was going to go with the money as far as the fines that was issued by the court, to find out how it would assist them as far as relocating or assisting them to clean up their apartment complex. A receiver is in place right now at Big Country Chateau. I believe he's providing 24-hour security. We've worked with Chief Helton and his staff to provide security there now. I think the receiver is moving towards cleaning those apartment units up. What we've done in the past as far as mold, we've hired a company that we put on APO to provide services to us. Now, my staff, we do not detect mold. So we may say, hey, it appears to be mold, but we cannot make that determination of mold. We have to let a company come in. And then the other thing that has to happen, you have to have somebody to remediate mold once it's found. And so that's another issue that we have. Some of the things that I've seen, we're dealing with another apartment complex too as well. And so what we allow the tenants to do is we provide those hotel vouchers for them. Granted that they're working on the permanent housing plan. Most of the tenants there that were there, I think it was 14 tenants that had Section 8 vouchers with MHA. And so MHA stated, because I think it's some confusion here, when people say housing, they get us confused with MHA because it was Little Rock Housing Authority before it was MHA. And so we don't do inspections for MHA. They have to do their own inspections because they have their own inspectors. And so when those tenants are moving from Big Country Chateau to another apartment complex, they have to have inspections done by MHA before they can move in. And so there's a slight difference. So the people that came up and talked before, it's a different set of inspectors instead of the City of Little Rock inspectors. So I don't want anybody to get confused on that. So it's a lot of different things that were said, but it's not my department.
And so, thank you for clearing that up. So members of the board, this is a highly complex issue. We're going to continue to figure it out. So that's why I'm glad Director Howard was here to ensure, even for the residents who've come in, because many times those residents may not know the rules as well. So thank you, Director Howard, for sharing with the members of the board. Number one, the families that do want to move out of the Big Country Chateau, the city is providing dollars for them to go into temporary housing and work with them to find permanent housing. Now, there are individuals who are deciding not to leave, and that's their choice and their right. But during that period in time, our city attorney is working the legal end. But also there are those differences between Metro Housing Alliance and the inspections and the housing neighborhood programs. And so for those who may be watching, Metro Housing Alliance, when you hear the word MHA or Little Rock Housing, that is basically a state federal entity separate and apart from Little Rock. Everyone thinks it's a part of Little Rock government. It's not. Then you have the housing neighborhood programs that works with the Housing Urban Development federal government, CBDG, which stands for Community Block Development Grant Funds. And through those, we're utilizing those federal dollars to help these families. And so we got a highly complex issue, but we're gonna work to figure out how we cut through the bureaucracy to save lives and help individuals move into permanent housing. What we'll ask Director Howard is every week or two, if you can make sure you're giving the city board an update as well as the city attorney, so we all are abreast to what's going on. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Mayor, just
And Director Richardson, then we got to get back to the agenda. Director Richardson.
thank you, Ms. Howard, for the work that you and your staff has been doing. And I know you would agree with me, excuse me, along with some of the tenants, another problem out there has been a lot of those unoccupied units that have been occupied by the homeless population. That's created a host of issues for the tenants out there. And I agree with Director Adcock about funding and finding availability of our funding streams. And I think that means we need to tell each other there is no sacred cow. If that's a public safety issue, then it may not be that critical that we fill 90 or 46 or 55 more vacant police positions, and provided that we're able to do it legally, contribute those funding sources that we have available to issues like this that I think are really, really critical to public safety. You look at the areas where we're having the most crime in our city, there are some common denominators. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out those common denominators that they have that contribute to the social ills that are contributing to the violence that Brother Hassan talked about a minute ago. But I think that, Ms. Howard, you would agree that the homeless population has been contributing to some of the problems out there, and that's not his department's responsibility. They've done everything we've asked them to do. I don't know if we've asked them soon enough, may be the problem. And we made this an emergency soon enough. I think that, again, Tom made the point that it's an emergency now, guys, and now I think we need to figure out, Mayor, under your leadership and Bruce's leadership and the leadership of this board, creative ways to address those very serious public safety issues that are not just contained there, because a lot of it is mobile. They leave and go to other places. So I think it's something that we need to look at, and as your liaison, Director Phillips, I certainly would be willing to participate in any meeting, any such meetings to address ways that we can combine and work in concert with each other rather than in conflict with each other.
Thank you, Director Richardson. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read the group items.
An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid to authorize the city manager to issue a sole source purchase order to River City Hydraulics in an amount not to exceed $325,000 plus applicable taxes and fees for an annual contract for Hill Parts and Service for the Fleet Services Department and for other purposes. An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid to authorize the city manager to issue a sole source purchase order to Banner Fire Equipment, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $300,000 plus applicable taxes and fees for an annual contract for E1 Parts and Service for the Fleet Services Department and for other purposes. An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid to authorize the city manager to issue a sole source purchase order to G&W Diesel in an amount not to exceed $285,000 plus applicable taxes and fees for an annual contract for Pierce Fire Truck Parts and Service for the Fleet Services Department and for other purposes. An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Ordinance Number 21,122 to authorize the city manager to amend the service agreement with Motorola Solutions, Inc. and to increase the contract amount to $218,362.62 for the city's radio infrastructure equipment for use by the Emergency Communications Department and for other purposes. An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Ordinance Number 22,079 to adjust the fiscal year 2022 budget ordinance to reflect revenue and expenditure adjustments for the general fund, street fund, waste disposal fund, and parking garage fee to declare an emergency and for other purposes. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on second reading.
Second.
There's a motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid to authorize the city manager to issue a sole source purchase order to River City Hydraulics in an amount not to exceed $325,000 plus applicable taxes and fees for an annual contract for Hill Parts and Service for the Fleet Services Department and for other purposes. An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid to authorize the city manager to issue a sole source purchase order to Banner Fire Equipment, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $300,000 plus applicable taxes and fees for an annual contract for E1 Parts and Service for the Fleet Services Department and for other purposes. An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid to authorize the city manager to issue a sole source purchase order to G&W Diesel in an amount not to exceed $285,000 plus applicable taxes and fees for an annual contract for Pierce Fire Truck Parts and Service for the Fleet Services Department and for other purposes. An ordinance to amend Little Rock Ordinance Number 21,122 to authorize the city manager to amend the service agreement with Motorola Solutions, Inc. and to increase the contract amount to $218,362.62 for the city's radio infrastructure equipment for use by the Emergency Communications Department and for other purposes. An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Ordinance Number 22,079 to adjust the fiscal year 2022 budget ordinance to reflect revenue and expenditure adjustments for the general fund, street fund, waste disposal fund, and parking garage fee to declare an emergency. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
There's a motion. Is there a second? There's a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid to authorize the city manager to issue a sole source purchase order to River City Hydraulics in an amount not to exceed $325,000 plus applicable taxes and fees for an annual contract for Hill Parts and Service for the Fleet Services Department. An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid to authorize the city manager to issue a sole source purchase order to Banner Fire Equipment, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $300,000 plus applicable taxes and fees for an annual contract for E1 Parts and Service for the Fleet Services Department. An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid to authorize the city manager to issue a sole source purchase order to G&W Diesel in an amount not to exceed $285,000 plus applicable taxes and fees for an annual contract for Pierce Fire Truck Parts and Service for the Fleet Services Department. An ordinance to amend Little Rock Ordinance Number 21,122 to authorize the city manager to amend the service agreement with Motorola Solutions, Inc. and to increase the the contract amount to $218,362.62 for the city's radio infrastructure equipment for use by the Emergency Communications Department. An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas ordinance number 22,079 to adjust the fiscal year 2022 budget ordinance to reflect revenue and expenditures adjustments for the general fund, street fund, waste disposal fund, and parking garage fee to declare an emergency. Third and final reading.
We now have 3 readings. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, if you would please read.
We had an emergency clause.
There's also emergency clause. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, if you would please read item number 20.
An ordinance to establish a local ordinance district for the Central High School Neighborhood Historic District in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. First reading.
To suspend the rules and place on second reading.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second from Director Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
An ordinance to establish a local ordinance district for the Central High School Neighborhood Historic District in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
To suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
There's a motion. There's a motion. There's a second.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance to establish a local ordinance district for the Central High School Neighborhood Historic District in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
Director Miller, then we'll go to the agenda cards.
Thank you, Mayor. As you can see on this particular ordinance, the staff has recommended a denial of this, and I certainly support the staff's recommendation on that. The 2 neighborhoods that are most affected by this are the Central High Neighborhood and the Wright Avenue Neighborhood Associations. Both of those associations have registered their opposition to this ordinance. Sheila Miles, who's the president of the Wright Avenue Neighborhood Association, and Denise Leeson, who's the president of the Central High Neighborhood Association, are both here. I believe they've signed cards to speak on this, and they can certainly speak for themselves as it relates to this. But certainly once we as a city found out the opposition to this, then we certainly listened to that. We met with them. The staff has worked. We heard the message, and we're trying to be responsive to the citizens who live in both these neighborhoods as residents. So again, I'm going to oppose this, and I support the staff's recommendation.
Thank you, Director Miller. I know you've been working very diligently getting community feedback on this, and have shared the sentiments from the community that we all need to vote no on this. I know we have, reading the room, Ms. Miles, I think there's a lot of no's here that'll take this down, but we definitely want to give you an opportunity to speak unless you want us to take a quick vote to get it to a no. Yes, ma'am. Just doing 20 now. We got to do 21.
Mayor Scott and the directors. My name is Sheila Miles. I serve as president of the Wright Avenue Neighborhood Association. I submitted a 4-page opposition letter to you on behalf of the Wright Avenue Neighborhood Association, expressing our concerns with the Planning and Development Department's recommended local ordinance district, which affects our neighborhood. Attached to the letter which I submitted are signatures of property owners and residents who personally expressed opposition to this local ordinance district recommendation. Many of you have also received phone calls and emails from property owners and residents expressing opposition. Within the body of this 4-page opposition letter, I expressed concerns with the handling of this process by the Planning and Development Department. I expressed concerns about the dismissiveness, disrespect, and demeaning treatment of the residents and property owners by the Planning and Development Department and commissioners during a meeting which they labeled as a public input meeting. During this 4-page opposition letter, we expressed concerns about displacement of residents and economic burdens imposed upon low and fixed income residents. It is my understanding that you are planning to defer this back to the Historic District Commission. I don't really understand what that means. Rather than, I guess, voting for it or against it. So that part is unclear to us. Frankly, we don't want to move backwards. We want to move forward. During the October 6th Historic District Commission meeting, at least 95% of the attendees were intelligent, Black residents and/or property owners. When the Black residents asked questions or offered suggestions, by the way, it was a public input meeting, the response was spoken to them in riddles. When the few white attendees asked the same questions, the response was collaborative. We do not want to move back into an abusive, dismissive, and disrespectful environment. Again, I repeat, when you vote to move this back to the Historic District Commission, I don't know what that means. We don't know what that means. Although this 4-page opposition letter raised concerns, we also recommended solutions. Housing is a focus area of the Wright Avenue Neighborhood Action Plan, which the city adopted in 2016. The historic Wright Avenue neighborhood residents are requesting the city assist with providing resources to facilitate the discussion on establishing a historic Wright Avenue neighborhood national district that is separate from the Central High neighborhood historic district. We have a great appreciation for historic structures, and we also have a great appreciation for great neighbors. The historic Wright Avenue neighborhood wishes to save historic structures, and we wish to save families. The Wright Avenue Neighborhood Association is asking you to deny this local historic district. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Miles. And just so you're aware, a vote no is moving towards the way that you want it to go. From a legal standpoint, it has to go back to the historic district. I know that's kind of confusing because staff is saying to the board that they're against this matter, like you are against this matter. So reading the room and hearing what Director Miller just shared, pretty certain that the city board is going to vote no. That, in effect, is achieving what you and the Wright Avenue Association would like. From a procedural standpoint, it's worded in the way you think when it's voted no, why is it going back somewhere so it could possibly restart again? It has to go back in the form that it came to us. And so, effect, the city board, in so many words, is killing it. And so, because the staff has said it's not a good idea, city board has to register that in writing through their vote, and then goes back to the Historic Commission. And I think the Historic Commission will get the drift when they see a no from the city board, and you won't see it come back before the city board.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yes, ma'am. All those in favor, please say aye.
Mayor, I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Director Wyatt.
So I'm trying to understand how this got to us. This came from the Historic District Commission to the Planning Commission.
So, yeah, let me. The Historic District Commission brought this forward.
Right.
Then goes to the Planning Commission.
Right.
Part of that process, the planning staff says, no, we don't think this is a good idea. In the midst of that, because it was going for the Planning Commission, other voices were heard. At the midst of other voices being heard, Director Miller listened to other voices to ensure, as the ward representative, that all voices are being heard. Staff have shared that this is not a good idea, but because in the form that it came to the city, it has to go by the city board to effectively kill it. So that's the
That's what I
process.
thought. So my real question is, we used to have somebody that sat on this Historic District Commission that was a staff member of the Planning Commission. Do we no longer have anyone like that that works with the Historic District Commission?
I'm pretty certain we do, but that one person, that doesn't change how it gets to the city board.
I know, but it just appears that if we had if staff's against it, if we had somebody that was involved with the Historic District Commission, maybe it would have been accepted a little bit differently or maybe processed a little bit differently. So that's the reason why I was asking that question.
Yes, ma'am. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay.
No.
This item 20 fails. Well, let's read 21 because the effect that actually kills. City Attorney, is 21 now moot since 20 failed? Or do we still have to vote on 21?
'21 is separate because it deals with expanding the membership of the commission.
Madam Clerk, if you'll read item 21.
An ordinance to amend chapter.
Anticipation of the creation, no, Tom.
Excuse me?
It says in anticipation of the creation of this additional historic district that they're asking for 7 to 9.
Right, and that would be a good reason to defeat it, but it's still not dependent upon that. You have the ability to increase the size of an historic district commission if you wish to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Madam Clerk?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 23, Article 4, Section 23-97A of the Little Rock Revised Code of Ordinances, 1988, to increase the number of historic district commissioners from 7 to 9, to declare an emergency and for other purposes. First reading.
We suspend the rules and place on second reading.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, second reading.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 23, Article 4, Section 23-97A of the Little Rock Revised Code of Ordinances, 1988, to increase the number of historic district commissioners from 7 to 9, to declare an emergency. Second reading.
We suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, third reading.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 23, Article 4, Section 23-97A of the Little Rock Revised Code of Ordinances, 1988, to increase the number of historic district commissioners from 7 to 9, to declare an emergency. Third and final reading.
We've now had 3 readings. Director Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. Just like Director Wyrick was getting ready to point out, this ordinance was in anticipation that 20 would be passed. And since that was denied, and certainly the staff is recommending denial of this one too, they sort of go together, and I'm going to support the staff's recommendation and move that this be denied also.
All right. We've had 3 readings, and we thank Director Miller for his voice. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay.
Aye.
Nays have it. This is effectively killed. Item 22 has been deferred. We'll now open the public hearing for item number 23. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read the item.
An ordinance to form and lay off the Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Improvement District Number 2023-001 Edgewood Subdivision Project and for other purposes. First reading.
We suspend the rules and place on second reading.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
An ordinance to form and lay off the Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Improvement District Number 2023-001 Edgewood Subdivision Project. Second reading.
We suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance to form and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Improvement District Number 2023-001 Edgewood Subdivision Project. Third and final reading.
Now had 3 readings. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read item number 24. Well, no, item number 24.
An Ordinance to form and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Improvement District number 2023-002, Edgewood Subdivision Recreational District, first reading, and for other purposes. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules, is placed on second reading.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, second reading.
An ordinance to form and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Improvement District number 2023-002, Edgewood Subdivision Recreational District, second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, third reading.
An ordinance to form and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Improvement District number 2023-002, Edgewood Subdivision Recreation District, third and final reading.
We'll now close this public hearing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, will you please read item number 25?
You have to open it back up.
Open.
An ordinance to abandon the 10-foot wide alley right-of-way located with Block 16 Gibraltar Heights addition in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, block bounded by Atkins Road to the east and 3 undeveloped right-of-ways to the north, south, and west, and for other purposes. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules and placed on second reading.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Second reading.
An ordinance to abandon the 10-foot wide alley right-of-way located within Block 16 Gibraltar Heights addition to the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, block bounded by Atkins Road to the east and 3 undeveloped right-of-ways to the north, south, and west. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, third reading.
An ordinance to abandon the 10-foot wide alley right-of-way located within Block 16 Gibraltar Heights addition in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, block bounded by Atkins Road to the east and 3 undeveloped right-of-ways to the north, south, and west. Third and final reading.
We've now had 3 readings. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, I will now open it for item number 26. Madam Clerk, will you please read item number 26?
An ordinance to abandon the 20-foot wide alley right-of-way located within Block 176, original city of Little Rock, Arkansas, block bounded by West 7th Street, West 8th Street, South State Street, and South Gaines Street, and for other purposes. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules and placed on second reading.
Second.
There's a motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, second reading.
An ordinance to abandon the 20-foot wide alley right-of-way located within Block 176, original city of Little Rock, Arkansas, block bounded by West 7th Street, West 8th Street, South State Street, and South Gaines Street. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, third reading.
An ordinance to abandon the 20-foot wide alley right-of-way located within Block 176, original city of Little Rock, Arkansas, block bounded by West 7th Street, West 8th Street, South State Street, and South Gaines Street. Third and final reading.
We'll now close this hearing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. We'll now transition to our legislative update. Mrs. Cox.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board. The legislature is in its 9th week of session, and they do plan to recess for spring break in a couple of weeks. And it remains to be seen if they'll finish by Easter, but April 7 is their target date as of now. And so tonight, I'd like to update you on several bills. First, on the Senate bills, Senate Bill 197 is the bill that would impact our ability to regulate short-term rentals. And this has passed out of the Senate, and it is on the agenda this week for the House City, County, and Local Affairs Committee. And the bill has been amended a couple of times, but it still almost entirely restricts your ability to regulate short-term rentals. And specifically, cities and towns couldn't regulate them any differently than other houses. So there are lots of folks who want to maintain local control in this arena who've been working to share their concerns about the bill with committee members. So again, that's on the agenda for later this week at the House Committee. Also, I finished up my PowerPoint before the Senate bill was filed late this afternoon, but Senate Bill 379, so it's not on my PowerPoint, but by Senator Mark Johnson, amends the law concerning the creation and authority of a municipal airport commission. And I can only speak for myself that I've not had time to study it, but it appears to impact the Little Rock Municipal Airport Commission. So I'll provide, I can send a copy to you all of that bill. And then on House bills, since I met with you last, I think this is an old, I sent another PowerPoint today. This is an old one, but that's okay. There are just a few House bills I wanted to touch on. House Bill 1510 by Representative Ray was filed since I last spoke to you, and it limits special elections to just 2 times per year. It does include the ability to have a special election in very limited instances of an emergency. And the effective date of that bill is January 1 of 2024. I understand there's still an effort to amend the bill to add language to help deal with bonding issues like refinancing bonds to get a lower interest rate and save taxpayer dollars. But to date, that amendment I've not seen anything about that. And the bill has passed the House, and it's in the Senate State Agencies Committee. House Bill 1519 by Representative Hawk was filed recently, and it prohibits municipalities from enacting breed-specific regulations for animals. And so this would impact the current process that we have for regulating pit bulls and Staffordshire Terriers. And then a bit of good news. House Bill 1308 by Representative Fite is now an act, and it was a technical fix that benefits us. It allows the 0.5% sales and use tax that's levied under Amendment 101 of our state constitution to be used by cities or counties to retire surface transportation bonds. And this is part of the gas turnback dollars we have received. So, those are the bills that I wanted to bring to your attention tonight, and I'd be happy to take any questions about these bills or any others.
Seeing no questions from members of the board, we'll now take a motion to go into our executive session.
Mayor, I have something.
Director Adcock?
Yes, the Civil Service Commission, we will, after March the 30th, we will only have 3 people on that commission. It is a commission of 7 people, but it will take 4 people to move things forward. We have a new class with the fire department and promotions with the police department that if we do not get them done by March the 30th, we will not have enough people in April to vote on these. So when do you plan on having another board and commission meeting?
We will, it's my understanding that those members on the commission, they are willing to stay on past their period of time to get that particular business done.
We checked with Mr. Carpenter, and this is one commission that people cannot stay after their date is up. So that's why it makes it so important.
It's my understanding that again, I'll have to go double back with Stacey Witherell, but it's my understanding that those commission appointments aren't up just yet, so they should still be able to meet that deadline on March.
Their term up is on the 26th of March. So if you and Mr. Carpenter will please check on that and keep in mind that we do need to have a vote on this commission. Also, Mayor, have we asked the Metropolitan Housing, have we advertised that for a new member?
Yes.
And will it be on this next board and commissions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Real quick, just to respond, Director Adcock, I'll just, FYI, I'm a member of the Leadership Greater Little Rock Alumni Network, and I know that there was some correspondence among that group to find more people to fill those spots. So I know there's an effort to get those spots filled as well. Just wanted you to be aware of that.
They have sent in 5 applicants.
Okay.
That will be in our packet. So that will make us have a full commission.
Yep. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Director Contreras?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, I'm not sure how we do this, make a motion that we delay the evaluation of the city attorney until the city manager is back. I have found in my experience that not having the 2 there at the same time makes it difficult to do one evaluation. So I don't know if you can make a motion on that or what.
I just, if that's the pleasure of the members of the board.
Can I make that motion?
I just can, if you all nod your heads.
Second.
All right, well, we won't do it tonight, so no need for a motion.
Okay, thank you.
All right, all those in favor to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, meeting adjourned.